assaulted in some way by these issues and questions that were being raised, and that he felt overcome, stymied in intolerable positions, you know, that, and so he could anticipate, he could see the writing on the wall, I guess you might see, that things were not going to go well, and the only thing I could think of was he was predicating this on the fact that we will have an audit and an investigation about his performance.
And the audit and investigation you're talking about would have occurred when, if at all?
You know, in the future, sometimes that we didn't, you know, if it came up, we did not know what was going to be found because we had been blocked so much from getting information. So no one was really making a decision, to my knowledge, of whether what we would do one way or the other. We were just pursuing our right to investigate and to get the information, and so we could make a decision.
And when this letter came in from Mr. Hoskins, I'll show you a short portion of it, call it out as the second sentence. Mr. Hoskins says, among other things, regretfully, it has come to Mr. Preston's attention that certain existing council members have made statements that they and certain newly elected council members intend, after January 2009, to prevent him from carrying out his duties as county administrator. Was that one of the things that Mr. Hoskins seemed to be relaying to you as a concern about what might happen after January 2009?
Yes, he was projecting and surmising what might happen.
And then later in the same paragraph, Mr. Hoskins goes on to say, and this is talking about attempts to stymie him that you mentioned. Attempts, he says, those attempts have thus far been most unfortunate for the people of Anderson County, but Mr. Preston has overcome the efforts of those who would stymie him in the performance of his duties. And then he concludes with another highlighted portion where he talks about considering the intent of certain members of council and their allies to prevent him from performing his job as an anticipatory breach. And I think you mentioned that term, that basically your understanding was he was making an anticipatory breach claim?
I'm not, what was it?
I'm sorry, was he making, as you understood the letter that you received, that you had, he was making an anticipatory breach claim?
Mm-hmm. He was making some kind of, I frankly, not an expert in employment law, and that's one reason that later on, I think as things developed, we sought the counsel of Mr. Tom Bright to interpret this letter from Mr. Hoskins so that we would know what kind of legal position that we were taking.
Now, Mr. Waldrep, up until this point in time, had Mr. Preston quit his job?
No, he was still there. He was still getting a check.
Still drawing a paycheck?
Yeah.
You're an attorney, obviously. Did you form an opinion about the validity of the claim that Mr. Hoskins was representing in this letter?
Your Honor, I haven't thought as an expert in this case.
Are you offering him as an expert for an opinion?
No, Your Honor, I'm just asking his personal opinion. He happens to be a lawyer, I'll grant you that.
Certainly. I'm saying, as an attorney, did you form an opinion?
He did frame it as an attorney. I'll let you rephrase
Yes,
the question.
Mr. Waldrep, did you form an opinion personally as to the validity of any claim that was set forth in Mr. Hoskins' letter of September 2008?
Yeah. Qualifying that with my lack of expertise in that particular action, and also qualifying it by the fact that there would be some deference placed to those who practice law in that area as a specialty. I looked upon this letter as baloney.
And the prospective council members who had won primaries back in June, at the point of September of 2008, were they in office yet?
No.
Had the general election even been held at this point?
No, sir.
And after that letter came in, what did the county do, to your knowledge?
Well,
response?
when this letter came in from Mr. Preston's attorney, our chairman, Mr. Thompson, appointed a committee headed up by, I believe, Mr. Ron Wilson, who might have been the chairman of the Personnel Committee, to investigate the allegations of Mr. Preston as to whether or not there was or was not a breach and what kind of damages and where were we, or were we going headed down the old litigation path, you know, again. So that was done.
Do you recall who served on the Personnel Committee
I do.
that addressed the letter of Mr. Hoskins in September of 08?
I do. Mr. Greer, Mr. McAbee, and Mr. Wilson.
Do you happen to remember one way or another if that was a standing committee that had already been existing in 2008?
You know, I believe it was a standing committee because we are required as chairman to formulate or form a committee within a particular period of time. I think it was right at the beginning of the term. And if you don't form that committee at that time, then you don't have a right to have committees. You'd have to have ad hoc committees, you know.
Mr. Waldrep, what was your understanding of what the Personnel Committee was charged to do with respect to the claim that Mr. Preston appeared to be making in September of 08?
They were charged with, I guess, investigating the merits of the claim as to whether or not there was any legal foundation for it, or whether we were to be liable in some way for the breach of the contract.
And did you have any understanding as to whether or not the Personnel Committee was supposed to come back to the council as a whole with any kind of a recommendation?
Yes, sir. That is a practice and procedure that you turn this over to the committee does a study, then they come back and they make a presentation to council, so the council can either accept or reject or ask questions or have discussion on what the Personnel Committee has done, is the reason why they did what they did. You know.
So would it be fair to say that at the time the Personnel Committee was charged with researching and investigating this particular claim, your expectation was that you would receive a recommendation back from that committee at some point?
Yes, sir.
Did the committee hire, or did the county hire, legal counsel to assist the committee in its evaluation of the claim of Mr.
Yes,
Preston?
we had if I can give you a little bit of background into that, I remember us going over to the council members. I don't know if it was everybody there, but I know that there was a number. I know Ms. Floyd was there. I know Mr. McAbee was there. I know, you're right. It might have just been Ms. Floyd, Mr. McAbee, Mr. Greer, Ms. Wilson, and I. When they had a meeting, I always tried to go to some of these committee meetings.
Narrative,
Yes, sir.
I mean, this is a question and answer mode of interrogation.
I think he's gotten away from the question that you asked.
I'll give him a better question.
Why don't you give him another?
And the question, Mr. Waldrep, was, this was an easy question, did they hire counsel? Either the Personnel Committee or did the county council hire counsel?
Well, they did, and
Tell us.
I just wanted to explain how that process.
And that was my next question. Can you tell us how that process occurred? Were you involved in it? How many lawyers were interviewed? That kind of thing.
There were 3 lawyers that were proposed, and I can't remember the names of the other 2, but I particularly remember Mr. Bright's name.
Is that Tom Bright?
Tom Bright,
Do you
right.
remember what firm he's from?
Ogletree firm.
And so Tom Bright from Ogletree and a couple other law firms were
So
considered.
that's correct. That I understood practice law, and we met in the side room beside the main room that we have at the courthouse. It was kind of a call meeting, I guess you might say, of that committee.
And let me understand then, basically, it sounds like the council itself evaluated 3 different law firms and ultimately hired.
No, it's a
right?
committee
Okay,
itself.
committee.
Now, I chirped in, although I was not on the committee, because I was interested in who would be the interpreter of Mr. Hoskins' letter. And when I saw that Mr. McAbee and Mr. Greer and Ms. Floyd, and I'm trying to think about her being in there too. Anyway, and they were very anxious for Mr. Bright to be the attorney. That made me uncomfortable, you know. But nevertheless, they had the votes to get it done.
And Mr. Bright was ultimately
Yeah,
hired?
and so he was selected.
And to your knowledge, is Mr. Bright an employment lawyer?
Yes.
And as I understand, Mr. Bright was charged with helping the Personnel Committee evaluate Mr. Preston.
That's correct.
Did the Personnel Committee actually meet at some point to discuss the claim?
They did.
How did that happen? And did you
Well,
attend?
it's interesting the way it happened was that I did not get a notice myself that they were going to have a personnel meeting. Normally, we have our personnel meetings in the city in Anderson at the courthouse, you know. But I found out at the last minute that they were having this personnel meeting in Powdersville at the library up there, Mr. Wilson's district in Powdersville, which is around 20 miles away. And Ms. Wilson and she found out too, and we were able to make it to the meeting in Powdersville.
Did you have the impression that the meeting was set in Powdersville for a reason that far away?
I felt like maybe I wasn't welcome.
And what happened when you got to the meeting in Powdersville, the meeting of the Personnel Committee?
They immediately decided that they would go into, quote, executive session. As three of them would go into executive session. And they decided that neither I nor Ms. Wilson would be able to go in. I pulled a section of the code out, the statute that we operate under, which says, in effect, the county council members are encouraged to be in attendance of committee meetings. And so finally, they let me attend, but it was a lot of noise about it, and I knew that they didn't really want me in there, but it felt like maybe that they had to let me in, so I was able to attend.
And what happened when you attended that Personnel Committee meeting? What was discussed?
Well, I particularly remember Mr. Wilson, who didn't want me in there anyway, speaking to Mr. Bright and encouraging Mr. Bright to find justification for Mr. Hoskins' position. And it was when Mr. Bright did not agree that Mr. Hoskins' letter had real merit to it, the atmosphere became a little bit charged and irritated on the committee that Mr. Bright had come up with a decision which obviously they found displeasing.
And before that meeting had occurred, were you aware that Mr. Bright interviewed the various council members about Mr. Preston's claim, just as a general matter?
I wasn't sure that he had talked to everybody. I know I talked to him a couple of times.
And what was your assessment of the general advice Mr. Bright was giving to the Personnel Committee at the meeting that you attended?
Well, I guess, kind of felt pleased that my uncle, common sense opinion with a limited experience in that area, coincided with Mr. Bright's opinion that this matter had little merit to it.
What happened after that first meeting? Did the Personnel Committee meet again?
They did, and this time I tried to attend. It was at the courthouse, and I tried to attend the meeting, but I was told that I could not enter this time, that they'd done more research, and they found out that executive sessions. They could still exclude me from executive sessions. And they had, I don't know, park police deputies up there, and I decided that discretion was the better part of valor, and I did not try to break into the meeting or anything. So they had their meeting alone in the executive session.
Were you the only county council member who wanted to attend that second meeting of the personnel committee and did not?
I think Ms. Wilson wanted to attend also.
Did Ms. Wilson attend the first personnel committee meeting?
Yes, she did, as I recall.
Do you recall how long that first meeting took, roughly?
We must have been in from there, well, maybe a little more than a half an hour or so. And that was, the first thing that I recall was the amount that Mr. Hoskins had demanded, I think, in this letter about how much money he wanted. I don't know, well, I'm not sure whether it's in the...
I think that comes in a subsequent letter, Mr. Waldrep, just to help you.
I didn't see it. Go ahead.
That comes in a subsequent letter, the amount.
Okay, all right, okay. Anyway, there was a tremendous sum, over $1 million, that Mr. Bryant talked about as a demand, and he felt like that we were not liable for that sum.
Did you ever hear back from the personnel committee with any sort of recommendation as to how, if at all, to respond to the Preston claim?
No, we never heard about it.
What is the next you heard about Mr. Preston's claim after that second personnel committee meeting that you were not allowed to attend?
November the 18th of 2000. Let's see, that would be 2008.
I'll show you.
2012.
That's right. Let me show you, Mr. Waldrep, if I may. May I approach you?
Why don't we take a short break? I think we're getting ready to go into the meeting where the
Yes, sir.
agreement was approved. Rather than break that up, we've been going for about 2 hours. So we'll take a short break. I'll caution the witness that during the break, you should not discuss your testimony, either past, present, or future, with anyone. We can move about. We'll be on recess for about 5 to 10 minutes. Working recess at this time. Thank you very much.
Oh, that's okay. It's okay. Trying to decide which is the best way to get around it.
Sir, are you enjoying it?
What's up? Buckboard tweed today. There you go.
There's a call. I said, there's a call. One cup of coffee. Cup's playing it safe.
I think you managed to get it back, but sometimes they take
I don't know, I did something in my life.
What's the sign goes up there on